Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Niko, and joins me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How's it going?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. Ready to talk about another week of comics here. This is our weekly comic book review show here, where we get together every week and talk about the comics that we've read, give you our ratings and reviews on the things, show off some of the art. Sometimes talk about some comic book news. And this is episode 219 of Comic Shop Talk. Still can't believe it. We've gotten, we've did this many episodes. It is amazing. Every time I throw up the number here, time flies when you're talking comics, having some fun here. And this week we're talking about the new comics that came out for the week of February 25th, 2026. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you want to check out these weekly videos. If you want to check out some of our other content here, you can always check out the playlists here. We got all kinds of different videos, different types of stuff here on the Late Night Chat Network. We just wrapped up doing a show about covering every new episode of our Watching the Throne show, which is where we do all the Game of Thrones coverage over there. Me, JT, and Christina. You can go check that out. We just wrapped up talking about the Night of the Seven Kingdoms season that wrapped up, and House of the Dragons coming back this summer. So make sure to go check that out if you're a Game of Thrones fan. We have Late Night at the Movies. We got all kinds of movie talk over there. So a lot of good stuff there. Check out some of our other things here. And as always, spoiler warning, as I mentioned, we're going to be going over some of the artwork here today, talking about what happens in the book. So if you're worried about getting spoiled, you can always read your books and come back later. All right, Chris.
All right, let's talk comics.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This isn't just OJ. Just want to let it be known. All right. I would have ran out to get beers, but I took a nap before we recorded. Getting older, Chris. I gotta close my eyes for a few minutes here. All right.
For the show.
Yeah, that's right. All for the show. That's right. All right, guys. First up on the docket here today, we got the conclusion of Spider-Man and Wolverine, issue number 10 here. Uh-oh, Chris, did you get your issue?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, no.
But to be honest, after seeing that it wasn't Carrie Andrews drawing it, how could they not have him on the final issue?
Thank you. Yep.
Like, not that this, that was it Sandoval or something?
Yeah, Gerardo.
It's not that he's bad.
Rafa. I think this is Rafa.
So yeah, Rafa's.
Gerardo. No, this is two. There's two of them. There's Rafa Sandoval. This is Gerardo Sandoval. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't be able to tell one from another, but either way, it's not like he's a bad artist. I thought the art was great, but I was looking forward to some, a nice final issue here, and like this whole story has been basically mostly all about the art. And, the splash pages and, like all these giant poses, and this delivers and all that. I think here where we last left them off, they escaped whatever multiverse or whatever world they were in. And Spider-Man is bringing Wolverine to meet what's her name?
Mariko,
yeah. And, there's some kind of fun scenes there. Peter Parker looks funny with his cowboy hat there when he's taking him out. And then, as he kind of leaves Logan and Mariko to have their sort of moment in time, he's just kind of roaming the streets of Vancouver. And Arachnic shows up, and of course they got to battle it out. And Wolverine shows up on the scene, and they get some nice battles in there. It looks like Peter Parker or Spider-Man brought one of those anti-web bullets or something to just in case. And, they have a great fight scenes, great action. Wolverine comes in, they all get their licks in. And of course, it looks like this Arachnic's character is going to kind of take care of these guys. And if he kills them here for real, then that'd be big trouble. But of course, they prevail. And with Mariko, right? She shows up and she seems to be some sort of hero as well. And
yeah, she's like the new Silver Samurai, but she's called something else, like Red Samurai. I forgot what, but yeah, she's basically like a Silver Samurai kind of take on a character. It seems like when she shows up.
Yeah, and then it just, basically they say that's the end for now. Which if they do take a break on this and Carrie Andrews gets back on this, I'd be happy to see more.
Yeah, I mean, Carrie Andrews, which was, I think, both of our favorite artists from last year. We gave him the award on the Comic Shop Talk Awards, and pretty certain of favorite artist when we did our year-end show here, where we kind of review, like, we give out awards for like our favorite things in comics. We just loved, Carrie Andrews on this series. I think at the end they said that he did about 6 of the 10 issues in this series, but I'm with Chris here. That's exactly my thoughts, my takeaway about this. It's not so much that Gerardo Sandoval was bad. We've actually sang his praises on the show before, where we're like, this guy has a backup. It's actually really good. It's complimenting Carrie Andrews well. I just feel like it's poor planning on their part that they did not have him on the last issue to kind of do a send off, especially with one with so much action.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. I just overall though, like this is what's been a series always that's been more about the art for us. The story's good though; it's decent, and if it was featuring characters that are not some of our favorite characters, maybe we wouldn't be as enthused about the storyline, but it is starring Spider-Man and Wolverine, and there was a lot of action in it. And I think overall it was a solid series, throughout. I really had a lot of fun with this. And like Chris said, I wouldn't be upset if they did more in the future. So I just hope Carrie Andrews continues drawing, because I know he's been one to kind of dip in and out of comics, but I'm really enjoying this kind of like 90s infused like kind of art that he's doing lately, like in terms of like, the way things have been looking. He's been still doing covers, but no word, I think, yet of any other interior artwork coming from him, right? On a series as of yet. I don't think he's been listed.
Yeah, nothing I know of for sure.
So, I wouldn't mind if you see him back on Spider-Man doing some issues. Because he was doing that prior to this. I don't know. I mean, I just want him to continue working, because there's been times where he'll dip in and out of comics, because I think he also does stuff in Hollywood, as well, for movies and stuff, if I'm not mistaken. So, this is good. What'd you give this overall as a series?
As a series, it might even push a 4, like easy 3.75, easily. And I mean, it could hit a 4. Some of the good issues were really good. If he was on art for the whole 10 issues, and they spread this out over a longer period, I think I would have preferred that. Then this didn't have to come out monthly. This story isn't part of any canon or something like that. They could have just put this out at their leisure, and I would have loved that.
That's the thing with Marvel, unfortunately, though. They're not like an Image where which is for something like this, they should. I mean, they will delay stuff if the artist isn't done, and it's like, like a limited series sometimes. But something like this, I think a lot of the time, they go in with the expectation we're going to have 2 artists doing this, and because one can't keep up with the schedule, which, I would have waited for this. You're right. This wouldn't have been something where if we waited for the last few issues to trickle into this new year a little bit, I wouldn't have been mad at that, right? If it was all Carrie Andrews. Yeah, I agree with you. I think overall I would give this a 4 based on the art. Like, I'd give it just if not 3.75, but I'm going to give it a little extra point for the series. And for this issue, I'd probably give this a 3.75 for the issue. Right? Yeah. So that's overall, it was good. I liked it. I have the trades. I doubled it. I've pre-ordered the second volume. I have the first volume on my shelf. That's how much I enjoyed it. I definitely double dipped on this one. So it was good stuff. Next up, we got the Punisher #1, long awaited new ongoing series here.
I got me a variant cover.
Oh, do you have the Stegman one? Oh, I didn't see that.
Was that John Tyler or something?
Your boy.
Fan of his negative space cover since I bought his 3-pack there.
That's right. You met him at the con. But this is Benjamin Percy with Jose Luis Suarez on art, who I'm not familiar with, but it looked good, the art, I thought.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this?
Wow. For a Punisher return, I need more, but it's still good stuff. Like the story's okay. But, it's weird that the Punisher has Microchip, freaking locked up in his basement or something. But, they start out with freaking action all over. I can't complain about that. I'm not the biggest fan of Jigsaw, but it looks like he's going to be maybe the first villain in the arc. I guess it seems like the Kingpin is out of commission. And, unfortunately, it's always the same story. The power is up for grabs, and someone's coming up there. But I'm happy to see Punisher back, and I'm kind of happy. I kind of like the storyline where the police, nobody wants to say the Punisher's back. Everybody's kind of like, well, it's some guy just blew up this whole building and he's got a skull on his chest, but we're hesitant to say that the Punisher is back. So I like kind of those types of that type of the storyline. But for a first issue, it seems like in Marvel, they hold everything back on the first issues. They know the first issue is just going to sell on the number one alone. So I hope there's more coming to this.
Yeah, as a continuation, like if you guys haven't checked out Punisher Red Band prior to this, you don't need to, but I would suggest checking out because I did enjoy that, and that kind of continues the storyline established in that mini series that Benjamin Percy also wrote. He ended up taking out the shot the Kingpin full of holes in that mini series, and basically here this is kind of now like Chris said, it's continuing on with Jigsaw as the main bad guy that's going to mess with him here, and it's trying to have a foothold on the city here in the operations part of it. But I really like the art in this. Like this was a cool scene, that scene where he opened up his jacket and he had all those weapons, and the Punisher like symbol is just what I mean, not it's the original, the OG symbol and all that. Like I loved all those moments in this. What's his name is still in here too, Tombstone, who was also in the Red Band mini series. So I think that this is a good book for Benjamin Percy in terms of tone, and I'm excited for this. I thought this was a really solid. Well, not too much happened. I think it's a solid first issue to lay the groundwork on, and still a continuation of what Percy's been kind of doing in the Red Band. So I hope that they kind of keep up with that same energy in this series, because yeah, this was a gross scene where fucking Jigsaw just rips his face off. What the hell's going on here? That was grimy. Like, I don't know what the difference is between this scene and the fact that this isn't a Red Band. That Red Band is such baloney. That stupid Red Band thing. I don't know.
Red Band, there'd be like splotches of blood on the page. And you go, oh, Red Band now.
Right. But I dug this. Solid start. Looking forward to more.
I want to see Punisher mix it up with some people in the Marvel universe now that he's back. This is still a very isolated story.
Yeah.
But I'd still give it a 3.75.
I'm gonna go with 4 on this one. I'm that might just be because I'm really excited for this ongoing series, but I was surprised by the art, so I'm gonna give it extra points for that as well. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 this week. Good stuff. All right, next up we got. Oh yeah, I love me one of these boards too with all the strings. Next up we got Amazing Spider-Man Death Spiral #1.
Got my issue here.
Yeah, I got mine too. There it is. Yeah.
What's going on with Mary Jane and Flash?
I don't know.
What was going on there? Were they trying to work something out between them, or am I just misreading that?
Oh, when they're walking around together chatting. No, I think they're just catching. I mean, because Flash used to be a Venom, right? So that's what I got of it. Oh, you think there's something more going on with those two?
I think they're trying to set something up there. It's whatever this maybe box they put themselves into. But other than that, this was the story I was kind of looking for in the previous Spider-Man issue. I think this goes into a bit more detail as to, what happened on Peter's return, sort of where everybody is and all that sort of business. So it looks like, whatever his intergalactic crew looks like, they're going to be on ice in the Fantastic Four building during this Venom Spiral or whatever, Death Spiral run. So maybe we're not going to see too much of them, which I don't mind. And, they can come back on board, I guess, after this is all done. And, I kind of liked, I don't know if they spent too much time, but on all those kind of the serial killing or the murders, which, maybe the first time you go, okay, one guy's name was Brock, there'd be another person with a name with, I forget what it's, some of the, was there like an Osborn killed or something like that? But they're all sort of familiar names, but not really related to anybody.
Yeah.
And, they got a bit of a mystery going on here. Like, I don't know who this Torment character is. And I like how Carnage is still, even though Carnage is sort of under Eddie Brock's sort of influence, but Carnage is still running his own game there. And now that once all these symbiotes kind of get together, or they get together with their host, they can figure things out. And so all these secrets are sort of all out in the open for them. So I think that's an interesting beat to this story. So I don't want to say I'm excited for this storyline, but the storyline is looking good versus like Gang War or something like that.
Yeah, that was terrible, but no, I agree with you. I think that a lot of the complaints that we had on the last issue of Amazing Spider-Man were cleared up with this one. Unfortunately, he was how we complain about the return issues, him returning. They really didn't catch you up on anything. They didn't really explain things well. That was kind of solved with this issue, but like the fact that he held it back.
You didn't need to save it for this issue.
Yeah, so that was kind of, or whatever, rehash it in a different way. So I don't know how that all kind of worked out, right? Because we have 3 writers on this, right? This is 3 people writing this. The writers of Charles Soule jumped in on here. Is he doing like a Carnage series? Maybe I don't know, but
Ewing's Charles Soule, the guy that did the Daredevil with Steve McNiven.
Yeah, Cold Day in Hell. Yeah. No, I like Charles Soule's stuff, but I had assumed he must be doing a Carnage series that I'm not aware of, because
I don't know how his name kind of got in the mix.
Well, that's what I mean, because you have Joe Kelly who's doing Spider-Man. You got Al Ewing that's doing the Venom part of this. Yeah. So I'm assuming Charles Soule is doing a Carnage series that we're just not reading, maybe. But anyways, so I don't know. I will say, like, sometimes when there's 3 writers on it, the distribution of who's writing who in these scenes, or the fact that they're all kind of plotting stuff, it gets jumbled. I didn't feel that with this story. I thought it was pretty cohesive throughout. Like, it flowed well. And Jesus Saiz on art, he was good. I have no really complaints about this first issue. I think it was, like you said, it kind of laid a lot of the groundwork for this. I'm glad that they cleared up a lot of the stuff we were complaining about in Spider-Man. And I'm looking forward to see what happens next. Again, I thought this was a solid issue. I did like the setup of how the last panel was those murderers, like you were saying, with all the different people involved. Yeah. And the look of this guy, that dude at the end, the Spiral dude or Torment or whatever the hell he is, that guy looks pretty crazy too. I will say, like, he looks like a crazy character. Like you already got like people like these Carnage, who's a mass murderer, and everybody else involved here. But then this guy shows up at the end, and it's like, again, he's got one of those boards. He's got one of those. You like the board? That's the way you plan these things out. You need a string connecting a bunch of people. But it looks like there is like a spiral, kind of like, he's going down the line, spiraling through people's lives or something, I guess. Hence the name of the series, Death Spiral. So interesting stuff so far. I guess we'll see. But you think there's more to this Flash Thompson and Mary Jane thing?
Here? Not. Like the way they're going with it.
Yeah,
I think they touched on it in some of the Venom there, but I thought she was just kind of playing a role there to, because I guess Madame Mask was tracking her. But then here they kind of brought it up again. I'm like, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah, maybe. I like how once again Paul is insulted in this.
Well, I think that's got to be you. They found gold in that. They don't harp on it too much, but they still get a dig in every once in a while.
Eddie Brock shows up. He's like, oh, Paul, get out of here. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 3.75.
Again, I'm going to give it a 4. I'm giving these ones a little bit more. I think they're both solid starts, these last couple we talked about. Yeah, 4 out of 5. And then we go, Chris, is Ted okay, number 1?
Yeah, I kind of just ran across this, whatever in my feeds. They said this is a pretty good issue. It's a very independent comic, it seems. If you like weird comics, this one's right up your alley. It's not really in the superhero vein. We talk pretty much mostly about superhero comics. So this one gets into that the weird world. Basically, it's following 3 characters. There's one guy who just seems to be like some worker drone. And then there's a person that has to watch the worker drone. That's their job. And, they're living, I guess, in the future where it's some kind of one big national company or multinational company that's sort of taken over everything. And the person that watches the worker.
So it's 5 years from now.
Could be next year. Who knows? But the person that's watching has to watch, like, I guess she has 3 people under her watch. And her job is basically to make sure that these people aren't displaying any suicidal or psychotic tendencies. And basically, they're just worker drones. I don't know what he's like some graphic designer or something. But I guess this person has caught that person's attention. He just seems to be working all the time. He doesn't talk. He's just listening to music all the time. And he's starting to display. And, they track him all over. It's not just while they're at work. They track him when they're at home. And, this guy's, just kind of living, the loser life. Basically, he just goes to work, goes home. He plays some video games. He has nightmares every night. And he talks to this cat on his way home. But I guess, these nightmares get to him and he just takes off at night when he gets these nightmares and sits out in the park or something or under some plane. So the person that's watching him, she's starting to feel bad for him. She's the one that's narrating most of the comic. And she tries to help him or something. And then he disappears. And while she's looking for him, he gets into a car accident. And then just some wacky stuff shows up, kind of like Men in Black stuff. There's before this car even basically explodes, somebody shows up. Oh, here, we'll help this guy out. They take him out of the car and, take him away. And then 2 minutes later, an ambulance shows up. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's, these driverless cars. They're known to explode. I'm glad you didn't get hurt. And she's like, what are you talking about? There's a driver here. There's this person here. And, they kind of just, just everything's getting sort of washed under the rug or swept under the rug, I guess.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, this guy's back at work again. And she's like, what the heck is going on here? So, and, then at the end, there's a little story about the author. And it sounds like this would be like 5 or 6 issues where it starts from like a local story and sort of every issue grows bigger and bigger. So I thought it was pretty interesting stuff.
And this was by Mad Cave, right? This was Mad Cave?
Yeah, Mad Cave. I forget who. I think it was written and drawn by the same person.
Okay.
That's not bad. I give it a 4. I enjoyed it. I thought it was worth my time reading.
Sounds interesting. I might have to check it out. So do you know for a fact that I don't know how many ongoings they do. This is probably a mini series, I would think, right?
Yeah, I think, from what the author wrote at the end. I think they put in like 5 or 6 issues.
Dave Chisholm.
Dave Chisholm. That's it.
Yeah, it looks like it's getting good reviews. I just kind of.
That's why I picked it up.
I googled.
That's why I read it.
Yeah, I googled it, and like the first few hits are all like 10 out of 10 reviews and things like that. Holy cow! Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 10, but 8 out of 10 is pretty good.
You know what I mean, though. It's getting good reviews. Yeah, you're like, whoa, come down there, 10 out of 10. Yeah, I might have to give it a look. It's good. If it's getting good reviews, it bodes well for a publisher like Mad Cave. That's not like a huge publisher, so that's good to hear. That's good. Yeah. All right. So next up, I got Justice League Unlimited number 16. Not too much to say with this one. I think I only read this week, right? You didn't check this out?
I don't think I read this one.
This is kind of like the fallout of this is like, I think the last DCKO kind of tie-in that we got going on here. And this is dealing with this isn't even the fallout of, this is the last issue that was dealing with that storyline of all of them going into hell. And that owl woman or whatever, or girl, I forget her name, that one that's in this. She was revealed to be a traitor last issue, if you recall. She was the one that basically, she reveals in this that she was helping Neron at the end of the last issue, and then in this you find out the reason that she is because, like, when they had mentioned that they were all going to die at the end of this, that they're just blips, they're just versions of copies of these characters that they ripped out of time to basically use for this Justice League mission. She was like, yeah, I know that doesn't matter, all you guys, but I'm here existing. I'm feeling this. Like, I do not want to just go away at the end of this adventure. All the other team members have died so far. And this is the reason why I kind of gave in and helped Neron, because I didn't agree with the way that you guys all went about this, because, she is a living, breathing, thinking person in this moment, even though she will go back essentially to her, like, she won't actually be dead in her time, but for all that's considered for her being here in this moment in time, she, should just go away. Right. So I that whole time travel kind of stuff. Right. So I get it. Like, so that's her reasoning behind it of why she actually went up against them and basically went and decided this, it tracked, it made sense, and the way they explained it was good. But then, of course, at the end of the day, she felt bad about what she did here, and she ended up trying to help them in the last moment here, helping Mr. Terrific, and he ended up getting back, and she ended up dying, and basically he's on the other side of things, saying like, how did that all go? And he's just like, yeah, everyone died a hero. There we had some people that thought went against us. We were deceived, but at the end of the day, everyone died a hero, and he's just kind of sitting there on the other end of things. And then it's just like, oh, next issue, like, DCKO, the wrap up, essentially. Like, this is the next one's gonna come out after. Again, it's nothing new we haven't said about this series. This is basically just serving as a conduit between all of the big DC stuff that's happening. It really has no story or identity of it on its own, honestly. Even like when it ties into other things, it's so focused on what's going on in the event. You don't really get a lot of like genuine character moments. I will say, I feel like this is wasteful that you have Dan Mora drawing this arc during this event of DCKO. Like, I mean, he's doing so much, and you have him on this book. Doesn't make any sense to me. I get this is the Justice League book, and you're using it as like to serve as like an anchor of like, these storylines, but like, I don't know. I just think it's like it's wasteful to have him on this title that really you didn't even need to read. I feel like
they're trying to make this book more important than it is.
Yeah, because you have Mark Waid writing it, you have Dan Mora drawing it. It should be more than what it is, and it's not. It's really just not hitting the mark for me. I think it's subpar, honestly. Like, I'm very disappointed. This book should be something bigger than it is, but it's not.
Yeah, on all the events, it gets all like the weak point of the events. You know what I mean? It's not like in the DCKO, there's big battles in this, like they were sent to hell to fight Neuron or whatever. It's like, what does that have to even do with the DCKO business? Anyway,
it was a side mission. It was a side mission that basically, which is fine, but like to make it seem like it's some big deal, and you have one of your top writers and artists doing it is ridiculous to me. I don't know. It's almost like, oh, Waid wasn't part of KO. Like, he's like, oh, so I'm going to write the Justice League tie-in. And then this is what he comes up with. Like, come on, give me a break. That Batman Night Watch was better than this. You know what I mean? So I don't understand. Like, as a tie-in, this was just fine. I'll give this a 3.5 out of 5, because again, it's not that it's bad. It just could be so much better. So I'm kind of disappointed by this. Very basic. Anyways. And then next up, Chris, you got Inglorious X-Force #2.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this. I wasn't too happy with the last issue. But this story here, it seems it's building into something, let's say. Cable, this X-Force team he put together, there's a particular reason he has each of these members, because in his visions, he believes one of these members of the team are the ones that are going to assassinate Kamala Khan or President Khan. So he's here to that's why he brought them all together, to try and change the future, and at least thought out who's the one that killed her, I mean. And it looks like each issue is either going to clear or, or accuse, I guess, one of these members. And, there's sort of all these crazy, whatever, this mission here. I forget where they go. They're going to some island or something. And, they're kind of disguised as training missions. I still don't like this Helverine, like this character himself. I don't like the way the characters are written. But, the art is decent. I'll give it that. There's a lot of action in here, some good fighting. But, it sounds good on paper, but this story isn't coming together. I like the Cable stuff. Domino's still in the mix. She's kind of just, hanging around on the outside. I don't know if she's there to kill Cable, for whatever reason she always wants. She also has a bullet with Cable's name on it. And I think the story's picking up a little bit, but just something's missing here. I'd give it a 3.5.
What do you think of like Tim Seeley's like characterizations of these characters though? Like I think like, is that any good? Because he's doing more Marvel stuff now, right? So
I like the story, but I don't like the characterizations of. Well, these are characters that I don't have any sort of knowledge of their character. Like, I don't know what Halvorine is supposed to be.
Right.
I don't know if he's going to be a funny guy or he's a moody guy. You know, they describe him as basically all the rage of Wolverine and none of the morals and none of the, none of the honor. I like the way he writes Cable. Cable's written well. Domino's written well. I don't know if you can say Camilla Khan's written well. She was never really, she's kind of goofy as she always is, and I just don't enjoy that type of writing about her. And Boom Boom, I don't know what the heck she's doing there. I don't feel like he's got a good grasp of. But Boom Boom's never had a very solid character. She's always just sort of a bubbly person.
She's a wild card. Yeah, she's like a wild card. Yeah.
Whoever writes her can make her whatever they want, and
that's true.
She still really hasn't found her voice.
Okay. I was just curious because I know he's written some X-Men before, and I was curious how he's doing with some of those main characters because I like the characters in the book. I just wasn't sure about the story, like you said, right? So, maybe I'll give it a second look. Rogue #2.
Yeah, I don't even know why I read this here. I guess he's just off her meeting with Mystique, and Raven, and Mystique doesn't want to give her any clues of to whatever she's doing. I guess Rogue is having some of these bad dreams, and she wants to figure out what's going on. And Mystique still won't tell her any of the secrets of the past. When this thing showed up here, I'm like, what the heck is Sabretooth doing there? I thought this guy was dead. Right. And this is if they're gonna bring him back, this is the way they should bring him back. Like, hello, how are you? I'm here again. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. As I read on, she's been having these visions or something. I don't even know where she's getting these visions from. But anyway, so she goes, okay, I'm out of here. I've taken off. She flies away, and then as she's flying, I guess she somehow absorbed Mystique's powers, and then she just kind of starts basically just transforming while she's flying. And then as she's flying, okay, she loses all her flight powers. And of course, she crashes into
the Blob.
It's the human. No, she turns into the Blob to save herself because she has Mystique's powers now. So she turns into the Blob to help absorb, I guess, this force of crash landing. And of course, they land in some warehouse where there's the humans first. She falls right in the middle of, some evildoers' activities, and she has no powers there. But then I guess her powers are kind of flickering on and off, and so she has to, just fight these, average Joes, and she does a good job of that. And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to remember you guys, but I got to go." And then she takes off again or something, and she's looking for the Constrictor. I don't know, and I don't know who this guy is. Whatever. 3.25.
All right. Next up, we got I got The Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery. That's a long ass title. There you go. This is the third week in a row of a new Vertigo release as DC has decided to bring Vertigo back. Last week was my favorite of the week when we talked about that. It's a Kyle Starks book. Did you end up reading that?
Yeah, I think I did. Did you like I like that one where he's the hitman, right?
Yeah. But this first week I didn't like. I was bleeding hearts, and then last week, which was my favorite of the week. Now I can't remember the name of the book, the Kyle Starks one, but that was really good. And then this week, you got The Peril of the Brutal Dark and Ezra Kane mystery. This is by Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips. Chris Condon, of course, has worked with Jacob Phillips on some books through Image. And he also is the writer of some Marvel stuff most recently. I think he's the writer on Ultimate Wolverine that we've talked about on the show. So I was like, okay, I'll check this out. This seems like a detective type of book. And it's not only just a detective book. It's like a mishmash of genres. He's basically like an Indiana Jones, this character, it seems like. He's somebody who is a detective, but he also has a history of ancient artifacts and stuff like that. He used to work for a museum, so he has all this knowledge of relics and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a mix of a detective story, but with also an adventurer type story of a guy who's like an Indiana Jones kind of character. Kind of interesting. I like the mix. But then, the first issue just throws you right in 1913, an island in Greece. And it shows like these guys like coming across like this tomb and finding some ancient artifact and this anvil that they find that's like an ancient anvil that was used. So they find that, and then they jump to the future, like I guess, but this like the future like 1940, so it's like 30 years later or something like that. And then we kind of jump to the introduction of this Ezra Kane character, and he's New York, 1941. So yeah, it's like less than 30 years of afterwards, and he's with somebody, and he's trying to obtain something back for somebody out of this guy's apartment, and he got this dude to go knock on the door for him as he kind of stood out there with a gun. And meanwhile, this guy gets lit up on the other side of the door, and then he storms in. So this guy clearly knows how to handle himself. You find out, you kind of got to pick up information as the story goes on. They really just throw you into this, and like I would say some of the storytelling wasn't like, it just is a little bit challenging. You kind of I had to kind of read a couple of pages back again to kind of really get a hold of the character and like what's going on. But if you take your time with it, it's all there. Like, I just think it's like moving at a pace where they want you to kind of like jump in and kind of, go along with them and kind of pick up details as you go. So then he gets this artifact back. And then throughout the course of the issue, you find out he's an ex-detective, or sorry, an ex-cop. Like he was a cop and now he's just a detective. And then he also has this history of like, like I said, like working with a museum and stuff like that. So someone hires him in the course of this issue to go and find this artifact. So that's pretty much where we're at the end of the first issue. There's some good action. There's some good mystery involved. The character's interesting. He's definitely like a layered character. He isn't very one note, like detective story. He has some past history to him that we're still learning about his experiences and the jobs that he's taken on and his knowledge of things. So far, so good. I think I give this a 3.75. It's not bad. I'd like to see as it goes on, like if it wants to, they flesh out more of the story, how good it is. Jacob Phillips, I've been a big fan of his art for a long time. I mean, he's very similar in style to his father, Sean Phillips, who is a really great artist as well. And this is the type of story that you get this guy to draw. Like he's a perfect artist for this type of story. So this might be one, if you're not reading it in issues or digitally like I am, it might be worth just checking out the trade, because I think this is one of those Vertigo stories that's going to read better in a big chunk, honestly. So we'll see if I keep up reading in issues for the show, but so far so good. I think out of all the first three Vertigo releases, I put this one in the middle so far. Like I like the Kyle Starks one the most, then this one's right behind it, and the other one's like a far last for me. I didn't quite like that first issue of that series that came out, Bleeding Heart. So, okay, yeah, 3.75 for that. And then Chris, you also read Final Boss number 4.
Yep, got my issue here. That is a great cover. What Tyler Kirkham?
Yeah.
I don't think I read the last issue to number 3. I guess I missed that one. But these ones, you can just kind of pop in. He's fighting in some tournament. I think it starts out they're kind of waiting for the next round, and then he gets sort of a mysterious letter about his father, and I guess that's what this whole series is about. He's trying to get some information about his father, and he's there with his buddy, and they got to go into some like desert area, and I guess before they go there, they kind of meet up with their weapons guy, and he sets them up with weapons and all this, a pretty fancy car. So that's just good stuff to draw. And then he's out in the desert, and they run into some cannibal gang that's got slaves and and concubines or whatever, just women there that they're just kind of using and abusing, and then they're going to eat them after. And him and his buddy, they go to town on these people. What's wrong with that? There's bad villains, good heroes, and then of course there's a boss at the end. I don't think it's the final boss, but of course whenever I thought they're just using those fight scenes when he's going to be fighting in the tournament, but this one, boom, right when this boss shows up, fight time, and then it just goes like into a video game scene.
That's awesome.
All their stats come up.
That's cool.
And then just some slicing and dicing action, and it's good stuff. I think the art is great. The only thing I can say is they shouldn't put this comic out the same week Skinbreaker comes out. I thought this would be a great looking comic, but if you read this right after Skinbreakers, it's like, woof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that's supposed to be great, then you see what great is. But we'll talk about that later, I guess.
Yeah, we will be.
But
Would you?
it's still decent stuff, and I'm just happy to have I see this guy doing a lot of covers, and usually they're like exclusive covers, so I don't really get to
Yeah.
a chance to buy those ones at all. So I'm just happy to get some interior art with him there. I give it a 3.75. It's still a fun read.
Okay, cool. Next up, I got Save Now #3, another Bad Idea comic. So yeah, no art for this one here today. And I hope you guys have, if your shop carries the Bad Idea comics, I hope some of you have checked some of these out. This is really good. This is probably my favorite series that they've been coming out with. This is the one where the guy can basically rewind and his life, like save points essentially, and if something bad happens to him, he can rewind back. So we got to the point of the story where he's really old because he ages every time he actually rewinds and actually lives his life again. So he might, keep rewinding 5 years previous to something in his life. But then when it comes back to the same point, he has lived 5 years. So he ends up aging like faster compared to the other characters around him in the storyline. So at this point in the story, he couldn't get it past a certain point and save his wife in the first couple of issues. So he finally accepted that she dies. And now we're at a point where all of these guys that he messed with in his past are coming to kill him. And he ends up not surviving the ordeal either. And he's with his daughter, who has grown at this point. And he's at this point in the story, he's older. And he finally figures a way out how to take these guys out with his daughter's help in this issue. But now the state of the world, like he's like in this, post-apocalyptic kind of like world now as well in the future at some point. Like he's not in a good place regardless of him taking out those guys, and doesn't have that long left in his life because he's so old now. So it really leaves you in a not a great place for the character at the end of this issue. I think next issue might be the last issue of this miniseries, but it's just been really good. The Thomas Chiarello art has been really solid as well. And it's a really interesting concept for a story, I think. So I give this, honestly, I give this a 4 out of 5 again. I've really liked this series. Every issue has been great. And looking forward to the conclusion. And then I got Escape #6. This is basically an issue where the character finally got caught behind enemy lines in this issue. He's been kind of sneaking around ever since he ended up crashing. And in this issue, he kind of causes a distraction by him getting caught. You feel like he got caught. And I mean, he did get caught, but I guess he used it as a way to kind of distract these guys so they can come and take over or bomb the area that they're in. I guess he was able to kind of get a hold of his squad, or it was just like a way of, hoping that he could cause a distraction and something would happen as a result of it. And it kind of does. And it kind of leaves us again, like at the end of this, you're not sure about what's going to happen with this guy. He's kind of in a bad position right here. And he gets some face-to-face time with, like, I guess, like, whatever, if you want to call it, these guys are like the Nazis of the story, essentially. So he gets some face-to-face time with one of their generals and talks with them. And they kind of, he's threatening him and his wife back home and all this other stuff. So there's some good back and forth talking moments in this one. Good Daniel Acuna art. It's a good story. I think I might drop it in issues though and just read it in trade. I think it's going to read better that way anyways, but this is another good Rick Remender series. Always a fan of his stuff. And this one, again, a war story about Rick Remender. It's not something I've really seen before, so it's been interesting. I give this a 3.75 out of 5. Then Hulk Smash Everything #3. Ryan North's just having fun with this comic. Clearly, this is again him just writing dumb Hulk and keeping having to put him in these crazy, impossible to get out of situations, and just to see how the Hulk reacts to this kind of stuff. And then, again, with Ryan North, if you read his Fantastic Four, he kind of injects a little bit of like actual science into the story. Let's say, like he kind of does. He knows a lot of things. Smart dude. And so basically in this one, Hulk gets thrown into space and then gets absorbed in, it goes into a black hole. And then you learn how he has to use, like, he gets warped into this black hole, and he continuously starts like pounding whatever the ground or whatever in this black hole. And he has to cause like some sort of like some sort of effect in order to get out of the black hole. And there's all this like science mumbo jumbo about like, I'm sure it's stuff that all tracks in theory, but I'm not that knowledgeable about that kind of stuff. So I don't know. He basically creates some sort of like a, energy effect or to basically something to disrupt the black hole so he can make his way out of it. So again, this is just the Hulk being the Hulk. Hulk's the strongest one there is. There's nothing you can do to the Hulk.
And the black hole can get him.
Yeah, exactly. But no, the black hole does not get him. And at the end of this, he basically ends up again. Every issue is ended the same way, where he gets thrown into like another crazy, place and time. And in this one, he gets actually taken back. I think he causes so much trouble. He ends up seeing Thanos and fights Thanos. Yeah, no, Galactus. Sorry, he ends up fighting Galactus. And then after he ends up fighting Galactus, I think one of like the actual gods or whatever intervenes and or mortals or whatever the hell they are. They basically, someone intervenes and sends him back to his time because he's like in a different time and place in this so far. Oh yeah, and then Galactus, he bites him and then he turns into a Hulk himself because he like takes open the gamma radiation. Yeah. Sorry, not a god. It's fucking Franklin in the future. This is like, again, like a future time that he's in right here. Franklin, because he got sent through time. That's right. Franklin shows up, who's like supposed to be the strongest in the future. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Franklin shows up from the Fantastic Four and basically he's like, yeah, I'm sending you back to your time. And he sends him back, and then it's the leader who sent him there in the first place is in trouble now, and the Hulk shows back up. So yeah, it doesn't look good for him. He kind of keeps getting foiled. I give this a 3.75 out of 5 again. It's a fun series. I honestly like it's not like the best thing out, but it's interesting that I like that Ryan North is just doing like a different out of continuity Hulk story, it seems like, with this one. So it's been a lot of fun. All right, Mortal Thor number 7, Chris.
Yeah, I was kind of falling off this book, but I think this one brought me back in. It starts out with, I guess, is it Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or I don't know if it's whatever. But anyways.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Jekyll. He's just sitting in the back of a cab there, and he's kind of just talking to himself. And the cab driver is just like listening to what he says. The cab's like, what the heck are you talking about? He's kind of just, I don't know who he's talking to, but he's just kind of like going through his plan, and he's just talking crazy stuff. And I thought that was just hilarious what he's talking about there. And then, he takes his Hyde potion and he turns into Mr. Hyde. He's like, I'm sorry I have to do that. Boom. And he just kills that taxi driver, which I thought is just a bit of crazy violence just for a straight up issue. And then then it cuts to Thor, or I guess whatever, Sigmund or whatever his name is. He's there with his neighbor, and they're having some sexy time. And basically, just trying to figure out what he's, the mystery of him himself. He's like, how come, how come, what if they're sending this Cobra person after you? That's a straight up, that's a super villain. Who are you? You're nothing special. You're just a regular guy. And, they go, okay, well, we'll try and figure this out. And they're both on their way to work or something. And then that's when Mr. Hyde tries to attack him with the cab. I don't know why you do that. This is Mr. Hyde. He's pretty much a powerhouse on his own. Yeah. But, he hits him with a cab and somehow, whatever Hulk's, freaking home hardware hammer and for it or something has got some freaking strength to it. And, he's basically riding the taxi, and, they have some kind of, I don't want to say fun moments, but some action-packed moments there with, Thor or whatever, Sigmund trying to save this taxi or, this taxi guy. He goes, oh, every time he does something, Hyde's in there like, oh, what the heck? How come this guy won't, like, I just can't shake this guy. And it seems like, Hyde goes from being the aggressor to the defender at one point. And I think near the end, he goes, oh, yeah, I'll just drive into this tanker truck. And, before he drives into, you hear the tanker truck guy driving. Oh, I just got lost on my GPS. I'm just trying to turn around here. It's not going to kill anybody. And then, of course, this taxi's heading straight for it. And then I guess Sigmund has been watching those Batman movies, and he throws his hammer around the telephone pole and digs his feet into the roof. And somehow that causes the car to swerve around. And magically, it happens to be a an electrical station or something, and Hyde flies into electricity, gets zapped, and and I guess Sigmund's trying to get some answers from him, see what's going on, and then like here, but like you see here, it cuts to this Roxxon Corporation, and they're kind of complaining about the power outage, and this Mr. Blake, it seems like they're Mr. Blake's supervisors, and they go, oh, this stuff with Donald Blake, it's getting out of hand here. We're starting to lose money. We got to have a talk with this guy, and and they go, and for this Sigmund, we're gonna bring out Radioactive Man. I don't know who that is, but it sounds like they got another villain lined up to take him out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't almost read this one even for the show, and then once I read it, I was like, yeah, because I would kind of have been on the fence and unsure about the series the whole way through. You had talked about it first, and then it piqued my interest, and then I checked it out, and then it's kind of, it's kind of weird, the storyline, and it's like you don't know where it's going, and this issue was pretty good. I really did like this issue, though. I thought it was interesting. And I'm actually interested to see where it comes next. Like if they're just going to keep throwing villains at this guy, and then he's going to have to fumble his way. Yeah, he's going to have to fumble his way through this while all still not being Thor. He's just a regular guy, apparently. You know what I mean? Like even though he's not.
Thor's watching out for him though too, because when he was knocked out, I imagine that's Thor that was talking to him.
Yeah,
or somebody was like, some sort of spirit was talking to him. While he was unconscious for that split second.
Well, it was Loki, right? Wasn't Loki the one that was involved?
He's still hanging around in the background,
right?
In some of those scenes. But when he kind of got first hit by the car,
oh, okay,
getting dragged, and he's like, okay, you're going to be hurting when I wake you up.
Well, I think it's more like his inner, like I think this is Thor, is it not? Like this is him. I think it's just like we don't know. Okay, maybe it's not.
I don't know. Well, he could be a regular guy. He's got the power of Thor in him, but it's why it can't come out. Like I might have to just read what happened at the end of this Mortal.
Yeah, because we didn't read it. Neither of us read it. I mean, I know you were reading the series a bit, but you didn't read it at the end, and then it relaunched, and we've kind of jumped in from there. Like, so I don't know if this is, from my understanding, I thought this was Thor. He just doesn't have any recollection of being Thor.
Maybe.
Right. But anyways, it's a good issue.
I guess he does got some power. He's freaking.
That's what I mean. He clearly does. He's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's just, but that's what I mean. It's almost like he's bumbling his way through this. Like, oh yeah, I don't know how to I have powers, and I was gonna throw this hammer. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's wacky. But this is a good issue. I did like it. What'd you give this?
Like compared to for a Thor comic, I'd give it a 4. But just as a comic in general. I give it a 3.75.
I'll go 3.75. Yeah, but this is better than what we had previous to this. Capes number 4.
No, I think I'm falling into this Capes world. I love this one. I thought everything that was going on here was great. I kind of, I guess they start out talking about this Chronodile character.
Yeah,
they're wacky, but if you. I think after a few issues, that kind of you get into this world, and it's not just satirical about that, and all the sacrifices that were made for this to beat this Chronodile. I like how they talked about Omni-Man, I guess, showing up before he went crazy or something, and then that Radioactive Man the Captain, what was his name? I don't know, Captain Chemical or something like that. He went out to space to absorb some space rays to come back to kill to basically kill that Chronodile, and they both disappeared. And then it kind of comes back to the present day, and you have this is another Thor type character here. I forget what his name is.
Yeah. And
Knockouts, and they're having they're kind of having their ups and downs there. They're talking about their new relationship, and then of course when she suits up, just kind of what she has to say. Oh, it's like, you got to wear those things out when you go. He goes, of course I got to wear these. This is what they want.
Yeah. You find out she has
just going through all the characters. They go through a bunch of other characters and what's going on in their life, and this kind of work a day. Your average Joe superhero that's just got to clock into work. And being late, and making sure they're there for these dumb meetings and stuff like that. I think it's just fun to read, and how it works out. And then the story itself is this crocodile or a Chronodile. He comes back at the end, and at least. If you haven't been reading this, you do realize in the front that this was like a big character that it took took out a lot of people and took everything to destroy. And now he's back again. And it sounds like there's no Omni-Man to help him. And maybe that, I forget what his name was. He was a Captain something. He might have, I don't know what they're going to do with this thing here. So it was a fun comic. I liked it.
I thought it was good too. I think last time I talked about this was the second issue, and then I think I didn't read the last one. But then I read this one, and I think the last time I reviewed this comic, I basically said, like, the joke was getting tired already, like with their kind of like working 9 to 5 kind of feel of the book. But I will say, like, this was a solid issue, and it does seem to be developing into more than that at this point.
Yeah.
Like, now they kind of got the ball rolling. The world's getting fleshed out a little bit more. You're getting to learn more about the characters, and they're kind of starting up new kind of mysteries and storylines for these people. So it was pretty solid. Like, I've read the first 3 issues. I mean, in the back of this issue, they actually pointed out that this has never actually been printed in issues. These 4 to 6 issues were material that were originally put as backups, I guess, in Invincible or something like that. And the first 3 issues was the only miniseries that actually came out in issue form previous to this. So for a lot of people that may have checked out this miniseries before, this is new material that's like here for the first time that you may not have not read. I think myself included. I think I may have only read the original 3-issue miniseries. So whatever they're doing, I know he's been polishing up some of the dialogue, and they've been polishing up some of the art. And after issue 6, it's supposed to be all new ongoing material. So yeah, I think I'm in too, Chris. I think this was a solid issue, and I'm actually looking forward to more. I'm interested to see how this ties into the Invincible universe stuff, because as we all know, Invincible isn't happening anymore, the ongoing series, but now they got Battle Beast, and then you got this. So like, you have stuff happening within this Kirkman world still that he's established. So it's there's still room to do a lot of interesting stuff there. So what'd you give this?
Yeah, I might give this one a 4. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, you know what? The more we talked about it, I'll also bump it up to 4. Yeah, it was good. It was a solid issue. Hyde Street number 10.
Oh, this has been on a bit of a hiatus. And from what I remember, the last where we left off the Hyde Street wasn't that the Boy Scout? He's got that mask on, and he was and then he's got the X-ray glasses. I think we learned about the X-ray guy.
Yeah.
And now this one here transitioned into, I guess, this fortune teller and how she ended up on Hyde Street. So maybe I think that storyline is still running, because I think they do sort of reference one panel with that Boy Scout with the werewolf mask on there still.
Yeah.
And I guess all these people are gonna play into that storyline. But I thought this, whatever this story about the sisterhood here, how she was like a fortune teller or something, or a seance or whatever you call these people. And I did like how they kind of pull the veil or pull the curtain back on what they're doing, because when you're kind of reading it through the beginning, oh, maybe she does, kind of can touch in there. And then, as they're walking away, she's like, fuck, this way you just got to tell people what they want. You can't go off script and all this sort of stuff when she's talking with her sister. And then they end up on High Street. And, when that scorekeeper shows up, it's like, oh, shit's about to hit the fan. And it seems that she's been there for a long time, and she's about to, I guess, cash in her souls. But if she does, that means her sister dies. And now she's talking to this butcher of Hyde Street, and he seems to be a bad character. He's locked up behind bars. It's almost like a Hannibal Lecter type of character. He might have been locked up, but he does seem to have some cards to play, and he's kind of tempting her to free him in order to maybe find freedom for both her and her sister. And she's still not falling for that. But I'm interested in seeing where it goes, and I'm glad this story's back. I like this one too.
Yeah, agreed. We were talking about like where this book had gone more recently on the show, and I am happy it's back. I just hope that we're back on like a regular sort of schedule here for the next few months, because it was a bit jarring coming in with this issue with some of the storylines where they had last left them. And then they also bounced over to that miniseries, which I think was also called Sisterhood, but has nothing to do with these characters.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That Sisterhood, right. It would be those characters, what they're doing here and now on High Street, but I don't think they're the same people.
No. So that was a little confusing as well. So like, while I enjoyed the issue and I'm glad it's back, I hope that I'm looking forward to the next one, I'll say, because this was a little jarring to kind of jump back into it, especially given that they put out that mini series in between the hiatus, it seemed like, and then they come back. Unless these aren't the same characters, because that was in the future. This was like these people are from the past, it seems like. I mean, obviously this present day of Hyde Street is like its own thing entirely, but it seemed like the story that we read in that miniseries had to do with sororities and all this other stuff. And in this is a story about an older fortune teller woman or whatever. And they're like old timey people from the early 1900s. So I don't know where we're at currently. And then we left that whole other storyline, like you said, with the kid with the mask and the guy with the glasses, and this Frankenstein character was supposed to be he was an actor who like got stuck in this form, if you recall. So
I think when she's talking to the butcher, that's happening in the present.
Okay.
And then all this stuff here was basically just her history of how she got to Hyde Street, like her origin story, let's say.
Or maybe they will reference this more modern sisterhood storyline.
Like I imagine whatever story they're building to, like it seems like they're trying to. There's going to be something where all these characters come together, and either take out the scorekeeper, or who knows what they were going to be doing. But I think there is some sort of, I don't want to say a crossover, but something to tie all these issues together.
I'm sure there will be, because they've just been building all these storylines in this. So like coming in at this point was a little jarring for me on this issue. But other than that, I am excited to see what happens next, and I'm glad it's back. So what'd you give this?
I'm giving this one a 4 as well. I enjoyed this one a lot.
I'm going to go 3.75 because, like I said, I was a little confused about things, but I did enjoy it. It's good stuff. Next up, Skinbreaker number 6.
I just read this one online, but oof. The story, it's moving along, and I'm enjoying the story, but just every page here, like you could have nothing going on, and your eye is just still all over all the details in like the rocks or in the background. There's just so much detail through like the whole, like it's not like there's like a main part that'll be very detailed, and if when you kind of go out through the panel, it just gets less detailed as you go out. Like I'm sure if you blow up any corner of this, it looks like it's just as much work going into the leaves of a tree as it goes into the face of the character. And, our character here, we have our chieftain, or our ex-chieftain, let's say, I think his name is Anok. He's sort of on the run, and the new chieftain they're basically on the hunt, and he's trying to hide out, and, I guess he kind of springs some sort of trap, and this Anok takes off. And basically, he runs to the edge of a waterfall, and the chieftain kind of chases him down there, and they have a bit of a tete-a-tete, let's say. He kind of tells him, "Look, I know you're not stuck in the old ways, but you honor the old ways, but they're not working. You gotta, things are changing. This world is changing. You gotta, maybe it's too late for me, but." You got to lessen the burden on you if you play this smart. And, you see, I think one panel where you see him kind of thinking about it, but then he's like, oh, I got to kill you anyways. You dishonor your ancestors. And he's like, oh, if my ancestors want me to die, then so I die. And he jumps off that cliff, and then he falls into a whole new adventure underwater. I don't know what the hell that freaking water beast was that's chasing him down. And I guess even though he thinks he wants to die, I guess that survival instinct kicks in, and he swims out. He sees some sort of cave to swim into, and then he swims into that cave. And when he comes out of that cave, what I imagine is all those crystals. That's all the same stuff that the chieftain's sword is made out of.
Yes.
So he's like, oh, blessed be. I guess he's found some sort of power source or something that can change the fate of his tribes. And of course, up on the top of the waterfall, the chieftain comes back, and he's like, okay, he's dead. I guess he didn't see him surface from the water, so he thinks he's dead. And they go back to the village, and I guess you can still see the words of Anok are still weighing heavy in his brain there. He doesn't want to party or anything, whereas the rest of his crew is like, okay, well, screw you, I'm gonna party with you, I'll party for you. And he just kind of goes back to his house. And then his father comes up to him, and he's, oh, welcome, my son, what a great day. And and then I guess he feels that he can talk to his father. He goes, Anok had words before I killed him. And he's talking about maybe these, maybe the old ways are wrong, and then that sends his father into a rage.
Yeah.
And does he end up killing his father?
No. He kind of tries. Well, he tries to fight him, and then he basically just leaves him be. He's just like,
Okay, I thought he might have just killed him, and just because his father was just so outraged, let's say, and just kind of he was ready. He was trying to kill the chieftain there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so once again, this is another story where I thought I was kind of falling off this tribal whatever world, and I wasn't really getting sucked into it, but it's turning me around, and I'm getting pulled into the story here.
Yeah, this is a real solid story. It doesn't pull any swerves, and it's not something I feel like, it's familiar ground for a storyline. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like it's anything new in that sense. But that being said, it's still a solid, well-told story. It's going to only be 8 issues, and the art is spectacular, like Chris said. So I think that's, like, again, just the main reason you should check this out. But honestly, it's a really good, solid story as well. And I think with a couple of issues left to go, I'm interested to see how it ends. Will they come around on their his way of thinking? The only thing I wish that what they keep happening with this character, I just hate how much of a coward he is. Like how he keeps coming out into these situations. Like, it's not that he's wrong, like he's right. And I get he's fighting for what he believes in, but at the same time, it's like, there's so many times where like they think this guy's dead and he ends up like getting away somehow. Like, it almost would be more effectful if he died and then they learned that he was right all along. And now that might happen.
Now you're just speaking about that. That could be what's happening. Because weren't there when he was walking back? Aren't there some of those monsters just like basically stalking them now?
Right. And that might happen. Like you said, that might still happen. Or he might go back and end up sacrificing himself, saving one of these people. And then they were like, oh, I was wrong all along. You know what I mean? Like, It's not something that we haven't seen, I feel like, in other stuff. But like, it is a good story, and they are going to be coming out with a collected edition of this, an oversized hardcover, and from what I heard, they're doing a black and white version as well, which is going to be all the pencils, like the scans of his pencils of the art. Oh my God, the detail in those pages. So like, I mean, I can't wait for that to happen as well. I'm definitely going to grab that when it comes out. So, but this is a solid issue, solid series. I liked it a lot. What'd you give this?
I'm going to have to give this 4.25. You're like if this was just any artist in the story load, it'd probably get me a 4, but for that art just pushes it up.
I agree. Yeah, 4.25 out of 5. Void Rivals number 27.
I've been reading this one online. I think I missed the last couple issues, but I just jumped right in here. I remember thinking the last issue was the Sharkticons here, and now you got more of the I guess the Transformers or those Quintessence or whatever. They're a lot more involved. It seems like they're trying to overrun this planet. And, at least where I last left, it was, whatever, the one side versus the other side. And now they seem to be united against, a common enemy. And I do like in the beginning, these Quintessence saying, okay, we got this, our Sharkticons, they're working better than we had hoped. The people here aren't putting up any sort of resistance. And, they have the alligator cons or the alicons, whatever. Just hold them in reserve, don't even worry about the elite forces. They got nothing. And okay, so it's pretty setting up a pretty dire situation for our friends on the planet here. And it seems like I don't know where this came from, but they're like, I think in one scene they go, oh, Derek or whatever his name is, oh, I have an idea. And then they just kind of cut away. And then the big solution is that these people can use this energon to power themselves up and heal themselves.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a game changer. And is it Sola? That seems to power him up like freaking crazy, because she just goes through one of those ships and just blows the hell out of it. And one of those Quintessence guys just kind of freaking, escapes the planet. And, he kind of shows up to I guess where the rest of the crew is. And he's like, hey, what are you doing here? He's like, send everything. Things have changed. Snuff them out before they figure out what's going on, or before they can figure out this energon trick that they're doing, or before that word spreads about it. And they do send everything down there. And this guy here, I remember him from like some earlier issues. He was kind of like
he's her brother, I think, Salila,
Yeah,
right?
he's almost like a Winter Soldier. Like they just put him in some sort of freaking stasis every once in a while and
Yeah.
just brought him out there. And then she tells him, like, he's about to get his ass kicked. And he tells him, take some Energon. And then, he powers up. And then, of course, after the power up, there's a healing effect. And it seems to have healed his mind or whatever. So now he remembers everything. And what that everything is, who knows?
Yeah.
But it can't be good for his planet people, because it looks like they weren't treating him very well.
No.
So that I think that's a nice little addition to the end of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been enjoying this. I'm glad that they're kind of be coming out. I think he's been coming out every couple of weeks for this event, if I'm not mistaken. It feels like it's been coming out at an accelerated rate, which I think has been good for the book. Yeah, I don't really have too much to add. Like you kind of covered the story there, and I've been enjoying it. It's still solid. I do get confused sometimes, like trying to keep track of everything in this storyline, and it's absolutely drawn out, this series, but it's still a good story. It's solid. It just I just feel like it doesn't need to be 20 seconds. The only reason this is going on this long is Kirkman's really slowed the pace of this storyline.
He's trying to have this line up, I guess, somehow when this Energon whole universe is supposed to cross over.
Right, which is the main reason why I kept reading. And sometimes I even question, oh, should I drop this? But then every time I question that, a good issue like this comes out, a solid issue, or something happens interesting in the story, that kind of keeps me around, right? So he knows what he's doing, clearly, in terms of the pacing. So it's still good. I'm liking it. What'd you give this?
Yeah, I'm giving this one a 4. I like this one a lot, too.
Oh, yeah, I think you liked it a bit more than me then. I'll give it a 3.75, but it was solid. Wrestle Heist number 3.
Now this story's coming along too. I don't know how many issues this is. Number 3,
5, I think. I think it's a 5-issue series.
3 or 5.
5 or 6.
And if you're a wrestling fan, you'll still like the parallels with some of their characters and kind of who they're supposed to be. Not loosely based. It's not like all these people like this. I imagine this 8-ball character. What's his name? Ocho Rolo. I imagine that's supposed to be Rey Mysterio Jr. And then, his son would be, I guess, Dominic. Yeah. They do kind of reference that, he's not a popular wrestler and everybody's booing him. But if you get back to this Wrestle Heist story, it's, whatever. They're putting their plans together, and some bear claw guy shows up. And, he kind of speaks like Thor, and he's kind of goofy. But I do like the way he's written. I think they lay into that pretty good, and it works. And I guess he doesn't have a good relationship with Gravedigger, but they do go back every once in a while to kind of let you know who's who and what's what, and just seeing this guy, the Stan Hansen or no Buddy Hansen, who's the Paul Heyman character, he is right on point. It's nice seeing kind of Paul Heyman as a villain there, and it's a fun read, and I guess it's 4 days till the Wrestle Fest when they want to do their, I guess they do their heist. They kind of go over the plan here, and it's Thanksgiving, so they're all kind of just getting their last moments before the action starts. So it's good stuff. And then even the stuff that's afterwards, they have all the writers. They kind of have a little interview of, I'm just saying, just some general wrestling question. It's just fun to read, kind of what everybody's got to say about that too. So that adds to my enjoyment of this comic.
Yeah, absolutely. The back matter is really good in this, if you're a wrestling fan, especially. And this is it's nice to see this side of Kyle Starks, because a lot of his earlier books were like this. He wrote and drew a lot of them. They definitely were more funny and cartoony, and you still get that out of his humor in some of these other books. But he also has all this other side of him where he writes all this really dark material as well, and he does them both very well. So it's interesting to see that he can kind of do both. And, listen, we've been talking about enjoying his work on this show for a while now. And I just think it is evident that he's getting a lot of books out there these days. I just hope that people are giving some of these a shot, because I really do think he's one of the more interesting writers around right now, just because he's able to do both these types of comics. You don't really get range like that from a lot of people that are just doing monthly superhero comics, right? This is a guy that clearly can do it all, it seems like. You know what I mean? Whether or not you like the work, that's, up to you, but he clearly has an interest and can do different types of comics. So props to him for that. Because you got this book coming out, you wrote and drew this thing, which, it's especially when you don't think he has this in him, here he goes. He brings out this comic, right? He's like, I can do this as well, right? So it's interesting. And this is, not, again, it's very cartoony type of art. It's art that normally I feel like we don't really, gravitate towards, but it works for the storyline. So even this whole thing, like this girl is clearly supposed to be China, it seems like, that they talk about here, and how things went with her career. You know what I mean? So I don't know, that's what I got out of it anyways. And then it was just funny, they're like, oh yeah, and then she got stuck, and he brought her around for like bra and panty matches and all this stuff. So like, again, a lot of references to like things that happened during the Attitude Era of wrestling that I'm sure Kyle Starks watching was a fan of at that period of time too, right? Yeah. What'd you give this?
4 all over. Another 4.
4 out of 5 for sure. All right, then I got Detective Comics 1106. Very quickly, this storyline just wrapped up in this issue, this arc. I really enjoyed this. I've been continuing to kind of bang the drum for this Batman comic because in a sea of Batman comics that have come out, and so many of them, I still think Tom Taylor's doing a great job on this. This basically closed out the storyline of that character who had that the fear toxin, but instead of people being afraid, they were not afraid, and it was affecting their overall, like what was happening in the city. It affected them in a way where, they weren't afraid to go and fight the cops. They weren't afraid to get into this huge mob like brawls, and it really messed things up in the opposite way you would think, because normally we deal with fear toxins for the Scarecrow, and this one they were kind of like not afraid of anything. And that was the idea behind like what this guy wanted to do. He was somebody who worked under Dr. Jonathan Crane as well. So he kind of had that history of working with him and learning how to actually make this toxin essentially. And he infected Batman. And Batman, again, at the end of the day, he overcame all that, and he was able to take him out. And he had this whole scene where he talked about how fear motivates him, like how fear helps him. And like he actually overcame this moment and was able to take him down, because he kind of said like, I'm constantly afraid, but it's because, I need to be blah, blah, blah. I had this really good speech about all that. And then he ends up, winning the day, of course. And at the end, this guy never learned that he was Bruce Wayne, it seemed like. So the whole time, at the end of the day, he goes back to the cave and he finds that he left him the antidote in his back. Like he sent the antidote to Bruce Wayne for this, so he didn't get affected by this, because Bruce Wayne, as Bruce Wayne, when he was younger, helped him, but he just hated Batman. He hated what he thought, his perception of what he did to the city. So at the end of the day, he goes and visits him in his cell as Bruce Wayne. And like, he basically says, yeah, I needed to get this to you. I didn't want this to affect you for everything you've done to me. It's just interesting to see the parallel of how he literally dealt with both of these people in a single day and doesn't realize that they were the same person, but he hates and loves them for different reasons. And it is the same person. So it actually, I don't know. It's something you think would be done more and that we've seen, but it was just really well done the way that Taylor wrote it out. I was really impressed by that, like showing how, like, and then obviously Bruce Wayne shares the antidote with the city and helps them all. And he kind of was like, yeah, I figured you'd do something like that. Like, so he was always looking out for him. He just hates Batman, right? So it's interesting. Like, he was a really good, well-written new villain, I thought. Like, who knows if we'll ever see this guy again, but I thought, like, for one of these characters, Chris, that shows up from his past, that he clearly has all these people that we don't know about, apparently, like, Heish or whatever else that happened. It actually was a good approach, I thought, to that type of story, because we've seen that so many of those type of things. It was really well done. I feel like
that swerve that Batman's been struggling with this the whole time,
right?
And basically had the cure freaking sitting at home, not in the, I guess, sent to the Wayne Manor, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's a nice little swerve at the end.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot. This is a solid arc. And again, the 4 out of 5, I really like this book. It's really good. All right, Absolute Wonder Woman 17. I got the Riley Rossmo variant for this one here.
Yeah, it's got the A cover, the Danta. So what did we have? The Suicide Squad being revealed at the end of the last issue. And it seems like Zatanna, I don't know if she's under some influence here or something. But anyway, she sucks the magic out of the room. So Wonder Woman isn't available to use her magic at the beginning of this. And I don't know. I don't know how this turned into a fun comic. Like, I would never say Absolute Wonder Woman was a fun comic, but this was a fun issue.
It is.
But I think, who's that? Chitara or Cheetah? Is that her name? Cheetah. She's there. She gets yeeted out in one scene and like just with the words yeet.
Yeah. I saw that.
I thought that was great. You know, that panel alone.
Yes.
That was great. And then, you know, then she's fighting, like, I don't know, I guess she escapes. I know what's going on with Zatanna. It seems like she's being mind controlled or something. And I think she breaks free of this mind control. Is that something going on in this or no?
Yeah, Chris, that's a Starro that she coughs up. You know, Starro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
she is being controlled. She's being controlled as we knew, like they all kind of are, and being dispatched to fight Wonder Woman. But that's what she coughs up is Starro, which is like one of those hive mind villains that basically, that's what that was. I figured, but they don't reference it. But if you know what he is, like that's what that was. It was controlling, right? So,
yeah. But anyway, that just got friggin', you know, sidelined by this fight with Giganta, and you know, I guess Marva, or what's her name, Wonder Woman. You know, she starts using her magic, and you know what magic is she going to use? Oh, she grabs a piece of her hair to basically. She can match Giganta, and I guess she can do it only 3 times. And then, you know, Giganta just keeps on getting bigger and bigger, and she just keeps on getting bigger. I think that one scene, it's like out of a Godzilla movie where, you know, you got Ultraman fighting Godzilla, you know, and they're bigger than the buildings and just kind of throwing each other around, or it's something like out of Pacific Rim. You know, it was just so fun to read and fun to look at. And then I don't know what happens at the end with their horse or something, and her arm gets burned off. So I guess someone else comes there with some magic powers. But yeah, I thought this was a great issue.
I agree. This is just like a big throwdown kind of issue that, you know, was needed, honestly. Like, it's been a lot of build up with all these new characters that they've been introducing. But this was just a good classic fight issue, while also having a lot of interesting stuff going on as well. I thought it was really a good balance of an issue. And I'm, again, looking forward to what happens next with these characters. This is I'm really liking this series. I think this is now a lot of people have cooled off on this or haven't continued on with it. I think that's a mistake. I think this series is actually just getting better at this point. So you got to really, if you drop this or maybe didn't check it out in the first place, it's absolutely worth your time. I mean, I know everyone talks about Batman, but this series is also really good. So good stuff. It's actually my preferred Wonder Woman book out at the time. I mean, some people may disagree with that. You know, I know you keep reading the Tom King one, but I as do I. But I dropped it in issues. But I really like this one. So, what'd you give this?
Yeah. This might be a 4.25 for me. That yeet move and you know her fighting those buildings. Nothing right. Just that stupid goddamn backward talking. And it wasn't just like a few words. There was like a big freaking bubble. I almost had to bring out a piece of paper and code or something just to see. And they say nothing too on top of it.
I know.
At least you spend the 10 minutes trying to read everything backwards. It should, you know, at least have some meaning, not like, oh, set me free, Diana.
I know.
What? Come on, get out of here.
I agree. It was annoying. But yeah, I'd agree. 4.25. Superman 35.
35. Yeah, nice. I got this issue here. And I guess this is really sort of where all this DCKO stuff is coming to a head here. I don't know. So I want Superman in my freaking Superman comic. You know, it's almost having that same thing as, you know, the Spider-Man when it was Norman Osborn, you know, being Spider-Man in there. Yeah, I don't mind the Superboy. I like Superboy. I got Lois Lane in there. They're fighting these Omega people, or I don't know, these Omega legions. And it seems in this issue, I don't know what happens to her, but I don't know. She kind of mind melds with somebody, and she kind of just remembers everything kind of that's been going on. So she's having some second thoughts, and she kind of pulls herself out of the scene. But with Dan Moore's art, this is Dan Moore in here, right?
No,
No, but I know whoever it is, and I think this art is good. And the story, it, it's keeping things interested, and it does keep moving along. Sort of what's happening DK and DCKO, and where things are going. But it seems like Superman's going to be off the table for a while, which I
Yeah.
hope not.
Yeah, I thought it was just for the duration of this event, but it seems like, at least from the solicits we've seen, that he's
Yeah,
continuing on in this title, right? So that kind of, I don't know what happens to him at the end of DCKO. I guess we'll see, but Superman, that is. But yeah, this isn't bad whatsoever. But like you said, I think it was interesting to see this character and the way this story panned out for a little while here. But I don't know if I may have also gotten my fill of this at the moment, but we'll see. I mean, it's not bad. Like, I did like how they kind of ended it with, like the cyborg Superman or whatever the hell he is there. He saved the day. It seemed like here at the end, he's like, tell Superman that I did this. And I liked that. And like, it seems like now Timekeeper, yeah, it's his time to shine now with going
yeah. It
into
seems like it'd be a showdown between Timekeeper, or I guess Darkseid and Doomsday, because isn't the Timekeeper Doomsday, right?
yeah. Well, that's what they said. They said he's the Omega and he was the Alpha. Doomsday.
Yeah, that's another part of the story. I'm not digging too much. Especially, how the Doomsday is born of Krypton and all that stuff. Like, I think Doomsday was a good story back in the day, but now they're trying to attach too much lore to him. And
Well, apparently this character's been around though, but he's more in from my understanding, like the Legion of Superheroes comics, because the Legion of Superheroes comics take place in the future, which is where this whole Superboy Prime and all that shit comes into play too, right? So, like, I'm sure for the people that have read Legion out there that know a lot about the Legion of Superheroes, maybe this is like even more interesting to those folks. But like for people that have like limited knowledge on that, it's a little challenging at times to understand the significance of some of these characters. But like, that's from what I've gauged or heard, that is the case with that character. So I don't know. This must mean something to someone more so than it is us right now. So what'd you give this though?
I'll give it a 3.75. I thought it's an okay story. It's better than the Justice League stuff. This is still
I agree.
Main quest stuff, not side quest. But
I agree.
But I don't know if it needs to be in a Superman comic.
I agree. Yeah, 3.75, and what you said there too. Infernal Hulk number 4.
Oh, here we go. This one's picking up its pace here too.
Yeah.
I think the last issue kind of find out what's happening to Bruce Banner, and now we find out what's really happening to the Hulk in this one. I do like the beginning here where, I don't know, whatever the Infernal Hulk or his minions, I don't know if they're taking down Air Force One or something, but whatever the people in the plane is like, okay, what's the plan? It's like, what do you mean, what's the plan? It's the Hulk. We're going to die. We've got no plan against this. And then it kind of just goes into, I guess, you find out where the Hulk is. I guess they explain that he's sort of in the Hulkscape, and that's where Bruce Banner would go when they would switch from Hulk to Bruce Banner. It's kind of a little crazy in here, but I did like what they did. Craziness of this world aside, I do kind of like what they did in here. First it kind of looked a little bit lame, just Hulk kind of, whatever, fighting birds or something. And then someone steals a doll, and he goes chases them. And then he starts busting into all these other worlds or other sort of areas. I don't know what you want to call them, but with all the other Hulks in there. I think we got like a Smart Hulk. You got Joe Fixit in there.
Yeah.
I got basically the original Hulk, it seems. He's like, what are you doing here? He kind of crashes through, and he's just, in some room. And this Hulk's, you're not Hulk, I'm Hulk. And then they start fighting, and then they end up in, the Joe Fixit. He's like, what are you guys doing here? Invite only. And then he starts shooting. But then, of course, they kind of explain that anything that this, I forget what the name of this baddie is, but whoever's kind of controlling the Hulk, the elder god, whoever he's taken, they're all stuck in this world.
Yeah.
And it seems that the mother of all demons or whatever it is there too. And they just got some nice horror there where she kind of just rips apart the Hulk, and then he basically ends up back where he started, but now he knows that he's not alone in there. So that's taking some interesting stuff. And in the solicitations ahead, are keeping me interested in here. I wasn't too keen on this when it first started, or at least the series before this. But what they're doing with it, it's a straight up kind of Hulk horror.
Yeah, I'm loving this series right now, and I love that Nick Klein is dipping in and out of like this painted style that he's doing in some of these pages as well. And like you said, the whole fact of like the fact that they have all these different Hulks, like Planet Hulk is there, like that's a lot of fun having the history of these characters and all the different versions that we've encountered over the years, kind of all here in this same kind of hellscape that they're basically in right now as a result of this demon thing, right? That's taking them over. So really interesting stuff. Don't know what to expect from this. Great art. Yeah, I'm all in on this storyline. It's been good. I'm really enjoying this. And again, there's another book where like we kind of stopped reading it prior to the relaunch, but the relaunch has helped in that regard. Yeah. I feel like it really got us back into this and interested in the book. So, sometimes I guess that helps in that sense, right? Gets you to give it a second look and be like, oh, I guess there was more better stuff to come. So yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing.
They had to relaunch it though. They could have just had whatever number it ended, calling that first one, the Mortal Hulk, and
right. They don't have to relaunch it, but at the same time, that is usually how you get people to check out a number one of a book, though, right? So I will say it worked out in this. I would have never looked back on this book unless I heard it was really good all of a sudden. I would never have checked back on this book after I dropped it. Which, I will do, but in terms of the show, it's just easy to be like, hey, I'll check out the new number one. You know what I mean? Like that's, yeah, I guess we're both of different minds on that, but you're right. You don't have to relaunch everything all the time, but it did get me to check the book out again is what I'm saying in this case. So what'd you give this?
I'm giving this another 4. I thought it was another good one.
4 out of 5. Yeah. Iron Man number 2.
Talk about another relaunch. That may not have needed to happen. Iron Man number 2. Great cover, though. I got to say that much.
Yeah, really good. Stegman's been doing good covers for the series.
And yeah, this story here, whatever story they got for this relaunch, I don't know if I'm digging it too much. I think the last time we had almost like some sort of Illuminati all getting together saying they got to stop Iron Man. And then basically they kind of dropped that whole story in here. I think they have, a little conversation, Captain America and Iron Man, fighting somebody, and they're kind of just chit-chatting while they're fighting. And it seems like Hydra, or AIM, I guess. AIM has kidnapped all those, the Tony Stark prodigies, and looks like they're going to put them through freaking not some good times. But I don't know, something's got to pick up here if it's going to keep me going.
I agree. I'm enjoying the story and I'm liking the direction of it so far, but at the same time, it's like I'm not 100% in as of yet. I could still drop this, but I am liking the Tony Stark characterization. I think in the first issue I said this is basically just him doing the Robert Downey Jr. version of the character. I feel like this issue felt less like that. I don't know why I thought that the first time around, or I'm just used to it, I guess, at this point, but I don't know. I liked it more, I'll say, in the second issue. I was like, okay, yeah, this is growing on me, his characterization of Iron Man, and I think that he sounded like what I would expect Iron Man to sound like. So I definitely like how he's writing him, and I did like some of these scenes, and I do like the idea of the concept of him, of them trying to recreate their own Iron Man. So yeah, we'll see. I just need like something else has to get a hook in me for me to be all in on this. Yeah, you're right. It's missing something. It's not. Oh, but this part was great. I will say the MODOK shit of him fucking with all these women, like feeding him grapes, like he's like Caesar or something here in this bathhouse. Hilarious. And then at the way that it ended with him saying like, AIM's not here to get me. They're here to kill me. You have to protect me.
Yeah, they're not here to get you. They're here to get me.
So it did end on a really good note.
It did end on a good note, but that's still not a strong enough hook to get me in. It was. Yeah, now that you bring this up here, yeah, I did enjoy that part. So.
It's right there, though. It's like that's what I mean. It's right there. Like, give me another solid issue, and I might be all in on this. With the way it ended, we'll see what they do with that. But I did like that a lot. I forgot about the MODOK stuff, quite frankly. So that was good. What'd you give it?
Yeah, that MODOK's going to give me 3.75. I was ready to give this a 3.5. Just off my general recollection of this, but I did forget about that MODOK stuff.
Same.
And it's happening there too, without his head on too. He's just freaking lounging.
I know.
But it's not enough to save. It's not enough to save that comic.
No, but that's hilarious. Yeah. So yeah, a 3.75 out of 5 for me too. So I like Ninja number 2. I got 2 covers for this one. I got the Inyuk Lee.
Nice.
And then I got the I don't even know which artist this is. I like it though.
Nice.
Yeah. What'd you think of this?
I know it's got all the ingredients, but I don't know. It's still not, everybody's freaking mind warped or, mind blasted. You have whatever Psylocke there. She's being controlled by the hand, and I'm still like, is this when before? I guess this story is supposed to take place before she really even entered the X-Men. This is like what's kind of just like fresh Psylocke, I guess, because Betsy Braddock escaped into, I guess, Psylocke's body here.
Quainons, yeah. That's basically, yeah, you're right. This is Betsy Braddock when she becomes Psylocke, as we know her, the Quainon character.
Yeah, I think it's the first time she used that psychic sword here, or
she
figured out how to use it. And then the stuff with Elektra. Elektra's still controlled by the hand while she's healing in that pool. I did that.
So no, she's actually controlled by a rival group now. That's why
I thought she was in that whatever that bath or whatever with that healing person, as they were trying to heal her from the effects of the hand.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. So they're both. Sorry, maybe she's not being controlled, but she's basically.
But when she woke up, she ends up killing the person that was trying to heal her.
Yeah,
and she was under the influence of the hand.
Yes.
And then she was trying to kill, I guess they were both under the influence of the hand. They're trying to kill each other.
Right.
And then when Psylocke used her telepathy to merge, I guess, merged with Elektra, she kind of, I thought that was a nice scene there where you get to see, sort of a little history of Elektra, all the good things there she had with Daredevil and stuff like that. And then they freaking both explode. And then basically at that point, both of them are released. And now Psylocke is, I guess she's herself again. And now, I don't know what the heck's going on here. But anyways, and now Elektra she's herself again. But now she realized she killed herself. She killed her, I guess, her friend that was trying to heal her. And now she's going to be going after Psylocke because she forced her to kill her mentor.
Right.
And then now Psylocke has been taken by her boyfriend from the hand that's trying to save Quanon, and he has her almost like Weapon X in the freaking bat with the mask there. I think the art is great, the characters are great, they draw all the characters great, they've got fighting scenes, but this story is just fucking whacked.
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not confusing, because it's one of those series that takes place not only at a certain point in time with these characters' history, and clearly there's a lot going on with both these characters. That being said, I still thoroughly enjoyed this. I like this better than the first issue, and it's just basically ninja factions that are on opposite, like rival ninja groups fighting each other, using them as like their avatar, like people like that they're controlling and using them to fight each other. And for that reason, I'm in. I dug this. I did like the art and I did like the story. It's basically just these two fighting against each other, working for ninjas. Like, and that based, I'm able to let all that other great confusing shit go as long as I get some scenes with them fighting each other. That is all I wanted from this series. And like I said, for that reason, I enjoyed this. I did like it better than the first issue. And yeah, I'm in for the duration. I mean, on this one, quite frankly, because but I'm not going to disagree with anything you said about the storyline being confusing. I totally agree. But in this case, I'm ready. I'm able to be like, I look past that stuff on this one personally, and get some sweet ass covers out of the deal. So, what'd you give this?
The only thing I can say of this comic is Carrie Andrews was fucking drawing it. That would push this to a 5 no matter what.
Yes.
You can take a baloney story and make it great, but it's not. I'm giving this a 3.5.
I'll go 3.75 on this one. And then finally, The Ultimate's 21, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in here. I was reading some stuff there. There's supposed to be some like meta explanation here where, like, who's writing this? Is this Dennis Camp or?
Yeah.
And he's almost like talking to the Marvel editors or something in here, saying, "Oh, this is what we want." And as he's doing that, he's freaking. I'll tell you what. I just want a freaking comic here, okay? And
Yes.
you're in the ultimate end game. You got all this big stuff going on, and this is the time you had freaking 10, 12 issues before to freaking to talk about your baloney commentary. It's just go time in your comic right now. You got a couple issues left. Why don't you get some action in here?
Yeah, I dislike this. I agree with you. I didn't actually even hear any of that kind of stuff. What I didn't like about this, and like you said, the main reason I don't like his approach on this is that this is at the end of this whole run that you're giving us this. Just close out the story, for God's sakes. None of this other shit. And then on top of that, this like is also like involving like a lot of political type shit in this now. Like, I'm like, what's going on here? Like with like, I don't know, like I was reading this and it seems like there's all these political themes in the storyline. I don't feel like were as evident prior to now. Like they were always somewhat there in the mix, but like not to the point where like this one felt like they were really hammering that stuff home. And to learn that there's a theory, or like you said, I don't know if he's spoken about this, that this is really him talking about the state of the book or this world or against the editors and all this other stuff.
Talking about the state of Marvel Comics or something.
Right. But then what's all this political shit that he's putting in here? That I'm not even saying like he's trying to say that this is stuff about like what's going on in the real world, but I don't know. There was all this like talk about like political talk in this one about like what's going on with these characters. So like, I don't know. I just, the perception of them like versus this government or whatever the hell is going on here. So, listen, I like the cannonball psychotic moments where he's just flying.
There could have been good stuff here if you just kept it a comic. Yeah. I think they're talking about the Defenders showing up, but
yes,
they're basically the Defenders of like the maker, not like, not another new hero team coming in there, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's people out here who are like, oh, this is brilliant, but this isn't what I was looking for here. Yeah, I'm sure that there's some people that are loving this, but I not for me. But then with throughout this, like he does show, like it's interesting to see these other versions of these characters. Like this guy's like a Deadpool character. There was good stuff.
There's good stuff in there, but it just gets washed away with his commentary of whatever he's trying to comment on.
Exactly. Like, and as you can tell, we clearly don't know. And that's a problem too. We're just like, I don't really need all that. I just need you to end the story.
I want to see these characters freaking go at it, make it clear that this is supposed to be Deadpool or, like seeing Cannonball out there. I haven't seen Cannonball in ages.
Right.
Like he's bringing in good characters.
Yeah.
Getting freaking lost.
DaCosta and like what's his name? All they like those like new mutant type characters. Yeah, like again, there is good stuff in here, but it's bogged down by all this exposition about like whatever his thoughts are on whatever the hell he's trying to do. And if you wanted to do that, you should have did that earlier in the series.
Yeah, go fucking write an essay or something, man. We're reading comic books here, okay?
No, I agree. I really dislike this. I felt like at a certain point, I was honestly skimming through the dialogue in this one. I was just like, okay, I mean, listen, you had this whole Emma Frost moment at the end too. I mean, I would have liked to get some more of that, right? I don't know. It's just a mess. It's a mess. And I don't know why this is ending on this note, this series. And like I said, we've mentioned it before. We love the first year of this book. Like just the second year of this book. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's all over the place with this series. I don't know. For all the praise this guy's getting as a writer, I think it's undeserved on this title.
I know. He's too smart for me or something. I don't know.
Clearly, I don't know. I feel like now we're just being harsh, but hey, that's the truth. That's how I feel about this. Just bring it home, man. Just bring this book home. Like you really had it. You had us. We were back in for the last.
Where the hell were all these characters freaking back in the beginning when you're issue 6 to 12? Why do we see any of these people lying around then? Freaking watching whatever, freaking Hawkeye go blow up a stupid oil field or something. Come on. This guy's probably driving his car to work too.
screw, screw the patriarchy. He's like driving.
Yeah. Driving an SUV, whatever. He's got like a freaking Humvee from the 80s.
What'd you give this?
Yeah, 3.5.
Oh, it's too high, Chris. What are you doing?
There's good stuff in there, just gets bogged down. I can't punish it for that, but
I'll give it 3.25. I guess it won't go down to 3. I want to, but you're right. There is some good stuff in there. I just think it's getting bogged down by whatever his narrative, like whatever you want to say about this, whatever his think piece is that's in here. His treatise on the world at large and Marvel editorial that's like found in here. Clearly, I can't find the words. I'm not a good writer either, or speaker. All right, Chris, what are you looking forward to checking out next week? A little long today, but we had a lot of books.
There's a lot of comics, though.
A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff, too. I hate that. I should have thought about putting a better book at the end of our cover. I don't know why I put that at the end, but there you go. You end on a good note. We're all fired up now.
After a few beers, a little more upset than I should be. I didn't drink my cut water.
Yeah. Listen, I've been drinking liquor here. So.
Let's see. New releases. Yeah, so this is for March 4th. Okay, we'll start out with DC. Batman #7. Looking forward to that. We had the Joker and that VAT at the end. Absolute Superman 17. DC KO 5. Well, that's a good week for I guess that's about it. Well, I got a few good comics from DC. Let's see what do we got next here. What's going on? Oh shit. And Marvel. Amazing Spider-Man 23. See if they can keep the momentum going with Death Spiral. I don't know. I don't know about X-Men 26. I don't know about the Avengers 36. Maybe I'll keep up with Wolverine 17. See what's happening there. Those Pinocchio covers, they keep me interested. Daredevil, Punisher, Devil's Trigger 5. That's it. I don't think I'll be reading any of these mutant solo adventures. Let's see what we got from Image. Oh, this Marvel Team Up Facsimile Edition. I think there's a Todd McFarlane cover that he's doing.
Oh, really? Cool.
The Invincibles and Spider-Man. I got stock price of 19.
Yeah, I ordered that. Yeah.
Youngblood #4. I don't know. Let's see. What's this? This Narco. I don't know what that's about. Maybe I'll look into that. Maybe not. We'll see. Oh, it's narcolepsy. I thought it was like drugs. Maybe not. We'll see. I think that's about it. What do you got?
Yeah, not too much else. I mean, other than this week, it's actually a smaller week in comparison, but Batman 7, Absolute Superman 17, Absolute Flash 12, DC KO 5, Amazing Spider-Man 23. Yeah, I might read X-Men 26 and Avengers 36. I think this is supposed to be the last issue, right? So I might as well read that one. I'll read it. Wolverine 17, Batman Green Arrow, The Question, Arcadia #3. I think I dropped that in issues, but I might read it for the show. JSA 17, Daredevil, Punisher, Devil's Trigger 5. I think that's the last issue of that. Oh, we got Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring #6, Chris, which I think is the conclusion of that miniseries. That was crazy at the end of the last issue.
Well, so to talk about his time in DCKO.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we'll talk about Marvel Team Up next week if we both ordered it. So maybe we'll. I mean, that's a reprint, but it'd be fun to talk about.
I have no idea what's going on there.
Sacrificers 19, I think, comes out next week. That's been really good. I think that's about it, though. I think that's. I don't know if I see Youngblood here. Are you still reading that or?
I'll be down for Youngblood. I think they have the Youngblood 100 coming out maybe the week or the month after that.
Okay.
Then we'll see where things go from there.
But yeah, that's about it. I do want to mention too, though, next week there's like a DC's reprinting like every issue of Absolute Batman, it seems like. So if you guys missed out and you're looking to catch up and pick up the actual issues of this series, I think like almost every issue is getting reprinted and coming out next week. Like I'd heard that the stores are stocking up because they put out like an opportunity of reprinting because they have so many different prints of all these issues right now. And it just keeps getting more popular, it seems like. So if you were looking to catch up, check with your LCS, your local comic book stores next week, for March 4th, because I'm sure they've bought the reprints because people have kept asking
all of them out like in that week.
I'm pretty sure, like if not
like 1 to 14 or something.
Yeah, like it's almost all it's almost all of them. Like I'm looking at it now. Like I remember I saw the shipping list previous to this week. I think it's like you said. I think it's like the first like 13 or 14 issues or so. Almost all of the issues that like probably the ones.
The first issue is at like its 10th reprint already.
Yeah, it's crazy. So if you were looking to pick up the issues, if you're one of these people that wants to read them in issues, doesn't want to trade weight and wants to get in on the fun, check out your comic book shops because like they are coming out with this. And if your comic book shop's a good comic book shop, they for sure bought these reprints because everyone keeps asking for these. These are sold out all over the place. A lot of these early issues.
You don't want to buy the reprints. Go buy the originals. Pump up that value. First print or nothing.
The problem is, will it sustain that value? A lot of these right now.
They're going to be freaking $10.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. I'm seeing it now. Like some of the like issue 8 or whatever is like, I don't know, like something crazy right now, like $60 or something.
All those comics are like, they were $20 a piece at the very least.
Yes, exactly. So I think the only one that will really sustain like its value will be the first issue, quite frankly, but we'll see. All right, Chris, your favorite book of the week. Really solid week. A lot of good books we talked about.
A lot of fours in there. But I might just have to go with the issue I had the most fun with. You know, I think, let's see. Skin Breakers was definitely in the running.
Yes.
You know, High Street, I don't know if it was in the running, but that was still a good comic. But I don't know, whatever. I'm going with Wonder Woman, absolute Wonder Woman. Yeet. I love that scene.
That was a good panel. Absolute Wonder Woman, Skinbreaker, both in the running for me as well. Detective Comics, really good as well this week.
Hulk would be in the running too for me, at least.
I was just about to say that, Infernal Hulk. But I gotta go with my heart, and you want to talk about the funniest I had, the most excited I was reading a book this week, and it's Punisher #1. I have to. Maybe not deserve it of it. There's definitely, I think, other books I talked about here that I rated higher that are technically better. But I'm just going to give the shout out to Punisher because I was really excited for this #1 and it didn't disappoint. I did like it. So
I want to see the Punisher. I don't know if I said this before. I want to see him mix it up with more of the Marvel Universe. You think if he did show up, there'd be somebody coming to check in and see what's going on. Like Captain America should be showing up. You know, you've got a big history with Captain America. This guy's been off the page for a while. Right. You know, and all of a sudden, you got some guy running around in a skull costume, blowing the hell out of everything. You know, maybe Captain America come by to cool this guy down a bit.
I don't know. I mean, so every writer has taken one or the other, like one approach or the other. It seems like some writers have started out where it's just like Punisher world, and then later they'll touch on the superheroes. And then some writers have just been like, this is going to be very like, he isn't going to run into superheroes. And then other writers have been like, he is in the Marvel universe. He's dealing with superheroes all the time. Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be upset if he mixed it up eventually, but I also am not against him just focusing on his world right now.
He was part of this freaking Weapons of Armageddon here somehow.
He might be.
The Darcy got its fingers in the Punisher. I think that would be something.
Yeah. Did he show up in his Daredevil run? I can't remember. I think he did at one point. I think he did. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm also not pissed off that he's not like in the mix with everybody as of yet. Like eventually, if they get to that, that's fine. Like, but clearly he is in the Marvel universe. Like Tombstone's in this one. Like I know he's like a gangster character, but like this is more.
Tombstone from Red Band is so brutal compared to the Tombstone and gang war. Like basically, Tombstone and Spider-Man, they were basically allies during that whole thing.
This first arc out, if if he was not involved with the larger Marvel universe, I think I'm fine with that. Eventually, some people should show up, though. You're right. Once he kind of causes some more issues within the city, if Daredevil or something doesn't show up in this, it'd be kind of weird, right? You know what I mean? Like he like
get Nuke back in there with them. I think Nuke sort of started out in was Nuke in was he in Punisher or was he in
Captain America? Oh no, he wasn't Daredevil. He was in Daredevil. He was in Daredevil originally, but it was by Frank Miller. I think Frank Miller was the one that introduced them originally. Yeah, so I think he was in Daredevil, and that's why maybe you're thinking because it's like amongst all the street level kind of people. You're right. I think it was Daredevil though originally, and then Captain America used him. But that's where I think he originally started, if I'm not mistaken, or at least that I remember him in. So yeah. So I don't know. I expect big things for the book. Don't get me wrong, but I just was really excited to read this and get back to a Punisher ongoing, despite all the miniseries we've had lately. They've said
they should get who's that guy, the Punisher before the Jake Grable or whatever, the Shield.
Oh, that Shield should kill him in this, right? Like that should be
run into him and like, he just tell the guy, fucking cool down. Maybe he can take his costume or something if they want to get rid of that skull, but
that's brilliant.
Have him sort of retcon his own stories.
That's brilliant. I hope they do that. I love that idea. I love that idea. It's like, hey, I heard you've been using my name out here.
I heard you think you're some kind of sort of Punisher out here, buddy. He's like, he'll take care of whatever his name was, whatever his problem was. He'll take care of that problem for him.
Yeah.
He's out of the page and he can go live in Hawaii or something.
No, again, after the first arc, if they address like Punisher's back and the heroes are like, and then they talk about how he's in Weird World or whatever, I'm fine with that. But this first arc out, I'm okay with them not involved.
Yeah, I'm okay with it so far. But
it's
a lot of it just reminds me of a lot of the War Journal and the original Punisher, which wasn't bad, but.
Well, that's what I mean. I think they got to go back to basics a little bit before they approach other type of storylines, honestly. But we'll see. So that was my favorite of the week, though. So that was mine and Chris's. Yours was again, Yeet, Absolute Wonder Woman 17. I might have to put that as the picture of the episode. We'll see. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I know a lot longer than usual, but we had a lot of books to talk about here this week, and you'll catch us. Yeah, good week. And you'll catch us back here next week, talk about another hopefully good week again. So we'll see you then. Thanks, Chris. As always, see you next time, guys.